I'm Mark Lack. This is Business Rockstars. We're here to inspire, inform, and connect a community of entrepreneurs. Joining us right now is my friend Howard Lim. He's the president and founder of How Creative. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, brother.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
So tell us about your company. What do you guys do?
Well, what we ultimately do is we design companies. So we create a new category, which is really truly a blend between business development, branding, and marketing. But the emphasis is on branding.
So some people say that it's more important to not focus when you're building your company on the brand, but to focus on other things like product quality, customer feedback, building a team, sales and marketing. But I know you have a different perspective. You think that the first and most important thing for a company is their brand. Do you think a company should start focusing on their brand right out the gate?
I think that the first thing you should focus on is really the idea behind the business, and then really get clarity about who is your target audience. Because a big part of branding is really getting into the minds and heart of the consumer. And if you're not clear on that, you really won't be able to have a business that's fruitful, sustainable, and scalable.
So how did you get into branding? What does your journey and your process look like that led you to being one of the top branding experts?
So it started actually literally when I was 5 years old. The first time I ever finger painted, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, which was to create. And so I just set my energy in building and creating things. So I got really acknowledged through all my schools, through even grade school, of like really designing the scheduling of the show for teachers, invites, and so forth. And so it kind of just grew from there. And then I ended up going to two schools, primarily one at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. And I studied multiple subjects, but ended up with a Bachelor of Science in Applied Art and Design. And then I ended up going to Art Center of Design in Pasadena. And what I really ended up doing was blending two worlds together, because I started before the digital revolution. So everything at Cal Poly was done by hand. You strip film, you set type, but it gave you a strong foundation on strong principles and fundamentals of what really made great communication pieces. So I saw the opportunity of really getting things to work out at a computer, such as film and animation, and I ended up creating a team of people that were really willing to take the risks and look at the opportunities and design and build things that had never been created before.
So you always knew you wanted to be a creator, but did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
The time I realized, and I didn't have entrepreneurship in a sense in my mind, my mindset,
specific word.
Yeah, that specific word, is when I would do a lot of drawings, unique drawings in my grade school, and I remember the students would want to give me their lunch money for my drawings. I didn't want to sell them, but they said, I really want to buy your drawing. I really, for 10 cents or a quarter, or whatever it may be.
You were balling back then.
So I use that money to buy more ice cream and stuff like that during lunchtime. So that's kind of how it evolved. I just realized that there was some value there that people wanted, and I was really shy. So, but after a while, I started opening up, and things started to evolve. And then the time I ended up finishing up on all my education, yes, I was very clear I really wanted to be an entrepreneur.
How did you ultimately overcome being introverted, being shy and nervous and not wanting to meet people and put yourself out there on, let alone stage or camera? How did you overcome that?
So what opened me up was what they call getting on a mat. When you get in the mat, you get in front of everybody, and everybody starts to give you feedback of what you can't see that they could see as far as the potential of your business.
Like having a coach in a sense.
Exactly. So getting in front of everybody and expressing what I was up to, what the challenges were, and then what are the opportunities, that's what started to get me comfortable and getting in front of people. And then after that, I got invited to be a speaker from one event to the next, and so it's been 25 years since then. But I've been speaking quite a bit. So that was the first key piece to get me in front of people.
I'm curious from your perspective as a branding expert, what you feel like are the 3 traits every beginning entrepreneur in their first, second, or third year must know when they're getting started in business?
They must know how to differentiate. If they're not differentiating...
I knew they'd be related to branding. Of course.
Yeah, of course.
So differentiate.
Differentiate, because there's more products and services in the space than ever before. And if you don't know how to differentiate, you'll end up as a commodity. So now you're going to be based on price rather than value, because that's number one. Number two is to get clarity of your vision of what is the potential behind your idea. A lot of companies, if they don't look at the potential, they're only really making maybe 1/100th of what's potentially possible for themselves as really a strong business model. So by looking at the vision, they get a better, you could say, bigger concept of what's possible.
Those two.
Yeah, and then a 3, in my opinion, is really having a very clear core message. If your core message is not clear, then you're not going to be able to attract who you ultimately want as your customer, and then you're really taking a lot more time, and it's costing you a lot more to acquire a customer.
Yeah. Well, I want to focus on the first one and
Sure.
and the last one there. First one being differentiate. Just kind of simple in a nutshell, because I know these can be week-long seminars, right?
Right.
You teach this stuff for a living. How can somebody differentiate themselves?
The first thing is to look at the companies that you feel are in your space and do a heck of a lot of research. Most companies, they don't do enough researching. And now we got the World Wide Web at your fingertip, right? So you have no excuse but to look at who's in your space and to really dissect 3 things. What are their core advantages? What are really their strengths and advantages that they have a stronghold on their consumer's perspective? Most companies, they look from a one-way street, they look at what they're creating, but you want to look from the consumer's perspective, what has them be part of that culture, what has them be bonded and build that trust, okay? Then you want to look at the weaknesses, where are the opportunities, and look at what is it that they're not doing that you could possibly do and do it better. The third, and I think the most critical, is what are they doing uniquely, okay? So every company, they're usually doing like 1 or 2 things, maybe 3, that is extremely unique. That's when you could start to look at differentiation. So
Sometimes they don't even know what that thing is.
Right, that's true, exactly.
They haven't put that into their marketing or their core story.
Exactly, and that's where a lot of companies lack. They don't know what their DNA is, or what truly makes them unique. You're
that's
exactly
where you
right.
come in and you help them find that unique thing.
Exactly, that's
put that
where
into the branding and the story.
Exactly. Tear it apart and then rebuild from a stronger positioning.
So to the core story aspect, how does somebody find that core message in that core story?
We go through a very particular process when we find out the back end story of what truly makes them authentic. And so there are core components that figure out what is that authenticity behind that company's story, so then you could actually build a culture and bond with more people. And that is definitely your vision, okay? Your philosophy, the values that you are creating, okay? Those are the things that I say that build your universe, and then you fill it with the content. So it's the context first is what kind of universe you want to build from.
I want to shift gears here because I'm curious. We'd like to throw some curveball questions out there. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
My superpower, what would it be or what is it?
What would it be?
What would it be? It would be making the biggest difference for humanity in the shortest period of time for the greater good.
Is that like the Miss America speech, or is that, that's the power that you want?
That would be the power.
It would be like a teleportation or something. Like
that it would really be like how we could increase the lifestyle for everyone. So everyone wins. Everyone becomes a winner, and everybody has a place of peace of mind and a lifestyle that they truly love. They truly love.
Yeah, I love that. That's powerful stuff. So what is your actual superpower? Because you were like, the one that I want or the one that I have. So what is the one that you have?
Being a whole brain thinker.
What is that?
So basically, I'm able to analyze a situation, look at the structure as much as I am to equate it to how this is going to be applicable towards the aesthetics or to the emotional aspect of a business.
So on that note, is there a framework that a company should follow? I know you have like this crazy 1,000 metric diagnostic to come up with the colors and all the different little things for a brand.
So there's 3 components to branding. We could break this up further, but there's the strategy, then there's the implementation, and then there's the management of the brand, okay? So an area of strategy is to always look at how you could be a disruptor, and from the standpoint of what would yield the most value for everybody that's working for or around the company, which I call really ultimately as known as the different stakeholders. That's number 1 when it comes to strategy, okay? Number 2 is when it comes to building the identity is consistency. Keep using the same fonts, whether you use it for print material, for your website, whatever it may be, keep consistent with the fonts, the colors, the tone, and also your tone of the copy as well. And also the images that you use, making sure that the tone of the images has a consistency to it.
Reminds me of branding, very similar to marketing in the sense, and I actually want you to define the difference for us. What is the difference between marketing and branding?
So the way I define it is branding is all about your positioning and differentiation. What is the DNA that you really want to leverage from? And then once you're clear on that in its communication and what really makes you different, and then it's about marketing that identity. So then you market it through the different channels, you market it to who specifically has you, who you define as your target market. And of course you could have multiple target markets.
Yeah. What's some of the best advice you have for the entrepreneur out there? We have so many aspiring entrepreneurs who are still in their 9 to 5, trying to figure out the right time to cut the cord and jump all in. And then we got those beginning entrepreneurs, first and second and third years out there. What's like one of the best aha moments you've had as an entrepreneur that would benefit them?
Team.
Team.
Your strength of your company is going to be, unfortunately, your weakest link. And if you have a lot of weak links, it'll make it very difficult and very challenging to really be sustainable or even get off the starting blocks. So I would say there's a couple of things. So definitely team, definitely capital is extremely important. And what type of capitals? You know, you have bridge capital and you got VC, you know, capital and so forth and so on, institutional capital, the list goes on. It's understanding. So a lot of it is really getting educated of the areas that really are going to help you become an entrepreneur. So we got finances, you got your model, you got branding, you got your marketing, you got your design, you even got your legal side when it comes to making sure you could patent or trademark what you're creating is actually trademarkable, patentable.
Yeah.
And even, quite honestly, you know, is the business structure. Should you be creating a C corporation, an S corporation, LLC corporation? So education, to educate yourself as much as possible, and then build the right team of people that have been there before. So that will save you a lot of time and money in the long haul.
Well, and it's fantastic advice because a lot of people struggle on the team part. They come up with limiting beliefs, and reminds me of an old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with the team.
Exactly.
Howard, it was a pleasure having you on the show, brother.
Well, it was a pleasure.
Appreciate you having you on.
Thank you for being here.
I'm Mark Lack. This is Business Rockstars, connecting a community of entrepreneurs. You can join us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at businessrockstars.com.